The Committee on Education and Health will come to order. Clerk, would like to have a roll call, please. Close the roll.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We have a full house today. Good morning. We have 62 bills on our docket. One bill, Delegate Davis, HB 346, will go by for the day. That is at the request of the patron. No funny stuff going on up here.
Madam Chair, can you repeat the number, please?
Yes, it is House Bill 346.
Thank you very much.
Will go by for the day. Now, here's a roadmap on how we plan to proceed this morning. We're going to start out with Delegate Carr's HB 649, which is similar to Senator Hashmi's Senate Bill 265. What page is that, clerk? 10. On page 10. Then we have two bills to re-refer to other committees. The next set of bills for consideration are bills that are identical to Senate bills that we have previously considered. Council will briefly introduce each of these bills. We will not hear public testimony on these bills as we've heard the relevant testimony prior to crossover. The next set of bills that we will take up are bills that are similar to Senate bills that we previously considered. All members have a packet at their seat containing conforming substitutes and amendments for these bills for the committee's consideration. We will have a public testimony on these bills if needed, and we will limit it to 2 minutes per side. Next, we will hear subcommittee reports from Senator Barker, Senator Locke, and Senator Lewis, if there are any, and there will be no testimony on bills previously heard in those subcommittees as well. Finally, we will consider a set of bills that are new to the committee. We will have public testimony on these bills limited also to 2 minutes per side. Delegate Carr?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. House Bill 649 and Senator Hashmi's bill have been conformed, and so the bill that before you has been conformed to the one that passed out of the Senate yesterday. Out of the House yesterday, the conformed bill. So they are exactly alike. I can go through the explanation of the substitutes
I need
if you'd
to
like.
get a motion on the substitute. So moved. It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye.
Madam Chairman, would you
Delegate
like me to discuss the substitute? It adds a sunset clause to line 143. The advisory committee function shall terminate effectively June 30th, 2023. The substitute adjusts the timeline for reporting on line 133, changes it to August 1st, 2024, and it also adjusts the timeline for providing a list of tools and resources on line 60. It adds additional technical changes to conform with SB 265. And as you know, this bill was brought to me by a group of constituents to strengthen services for all children who are deaf and hard of hearing. The bill establishes basic principles for tracking the language acquisition and literacy development of deaf and hard of hearing children from birth to age 5. It also identifies language delays early during the critical years for a child's brain and cognitive development to make sure appropriate support services are provided to these early learners. An annual report on literacy development for deaf and hard of hearing children from age 0 to 5 will be provided.
Any questions of the patron? Ready for a motion? Yes. There's a motion to report and re-refer to finance. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. The bill is re-referred to Senate Finance, is reported and re-referred to Senate Finance. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman,
Thank
members
you.
of the subcommittee.
We have two bills to re-refer to other committees.
First, Madam Chair, is HB 312, patroned by Delegate Razul, for a re-referral to Commerce and Labor.
Yes. Give them page number, front page.
It's front page. Move that House Bill 312 be re-referred to Commerce and Labor.
There's a motion and a second that House Bill 312 be re-referred to the Committee on Commerce and Labor. All in favor, please say aye or report electronically. Thank you.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero, and the bill is re-referred to the Commerce and Labor Committee. Second bill,
Madam Chair, next is HB 484, patroned by Delegate Helmer, and it should be re-referred to Rehab and Social Services.
motion, please.
Move that HB 484 be re-referred to the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is re-referred to Senate Committee on Rehab and Social Services. The next set of bills for consideration are bills that are identical to Senate bills that we have previously considered. Council, will you briefly introduce each of these bills?
Madam Chair, first is HB 193, patroned by Delegate Hodges. It passed out of the House 86 to 11. It is identical to SB 759, patroned by Senator Newman, and it passed out of this committee on a vote of 15 to 0.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically. Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 994, patroned by Delegate Brewer. It passed out of the House 99 to 0. It is identical to SB 529, patroned by Senator Reeves. That bill went straight to Finance on the Senate side and passed out on a vote of 16 to 0.
Motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor or not designated electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. Council?
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 1009, patroned by Delegate Durant. It passed out of the House on a vote of 52 to 47. It is identical to SB 656, patroned by Senator Donovan. That bill passed out of this committee on a vote of 8 to 7.
Motion? It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported, and that is HB 1009. All in favor? Nays, same right.
Ayes 11, noes 4.
Madam Chair.
No, he's already made a motion to reconsider. Thank you, Senator Newman. He didn't announce the vote yet. Motion to reconsider. This is the motion to reconsider.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero on the motion to reconsider. Now we will take a vote on the bill, 1009. Move.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 7, noes 8.
Ayes 7, noes 8. The bill does not report. Go to council.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 1129. It passed the House 99 to 0, and it's patroned by Delegate Taylor. It is identical to SB 6.
Oh, could we please suspend for a moment? I think the governor's calling me. I think he said something about the. Yes, sir, you may.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Well, good morning.
Good morning, Governor. How are you?
Thank you so much for letting me intrude upon this very important meeting this
My
morning.
pleasure.
I understand, Madam Chairman, that the two of you have taken to wearing red vests. And I'm concerned because, one, red vests have taken off over the course of the last year
Yes,
and
it
become
has.
very popular. And I'm worried that you have knockoffs. And I want you to have, based on your fashion sense, I want you to have the originals. Because nothing's worse than not having the original. So thank you both very much.
Thank you very
I
much.
hope you wear them with pride.
Thank you, thank you.
Now, Governor, you will see these very soon on Twitter.
Thank you, thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
Now, I know there's an enormous amount of very important work going on today, so thank you all for what you're doing. And I just so look forward to continuing our constructive working relationship. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, he did this time. Yeah, he did. He finally knows who we are. Council, please.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 1129, patroned by Delegate Taylor. It passed out of the House on a vote of 99 to 0. It's identical to SB 600, patroned by Senator Pillion, and that passed out of this committee on a vote of 13 to 0.
Motion, please. It's been moved and properly second that House Bill 1129 be reported. All in favor of that motion or not, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. Back to council.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 1299, patroned by Delegate Coiner. It passed out of the House on a vote of 99 to 0. It is identical to SB 738, patroned by Senator Morrissey, and that bill passed out of this committee on a vote of 15 to 0.
It's been moved and second that House Bill 1299 be reported. All in favor of that motion, please designate it electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair,
Counsel.
the final identical bill on the docket this morning is HB 1328, patroned by Delegate Delaney. It passed out of the House on a vote of 100 to 0. It is identical to SB 737, patroned by Senator Boysko, and that bill passed out of this committee on a vote of 14 to 0 and 1 abstention.
Motion? It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Please designate your preference on electronic voting board. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. Now we have the House bills that are similar to Senate bills. And, Madam Counsel, would you like to start with those?
Sure, Madam Chair. First is HB 102, patroned by Delegate Greenhall. It passed the House 52 to 46, and it is similar to SB 711, patroned by Senator Chase. Which did not pass out of the committee on a vote of 9 to 6.
Hold on a second, please. Any questions by the members of the committee?
Madam Chair, I think that I'd like to hear if because I heard it was similar, not identical. Perhaps we should hear from the delegate on what her bill specifically is.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I was aware that you had a bill by the same, if not a similar name, and my bill is not the same. Today, many people want to force doctors and pharmacists to prescribe and dispense certain FDA-approved drugs for off-label use.
Oh, my heavens. Am I now being called by the Lieutenant Governor?
No, Madam President Pro Tempore, you're just fine.
All right. Well, thank you for visiting with us this morning. I like your tie. Welcome. Go right ahead.
Okay. House Bill 102 does not. Prescribing and dispensing is neither required nor prohibited with my bill. House Bill 102 has strong support from the stakeholders who helped me write my bill: the Medical Society of Virginia, the Virginia Pharmacists Association, and even the Virginia Department of Health Professions. Dr. Brown helped me work on this bill and said in the House that this bill caused no conflict with medical licensing regulations. House Bill 102 is intended simply to protect the bona fide traditional doctor-patient relationship as validated in Virginia Code. I have copies of that. Okay. If you could, got it. So with my bill, if a physician thinks that an off-label use of an FDA-approved drug is appropriate for their patient, they may prescribe, and pharmacists may dispense without fear of reprisal by their local hospital or the licensing board. In Virginia Code, pharmacists have the right to decline to fill a prescription, and my bill does not interfere with that right to decline. So let me be clear, if there is an adverse effect, such as...
I think we got the difference. Yeah, I think there was some confusion
I
between.
think that's the big difference we just heard,
Yeah.
Madam Chair, is we had a bill that was going to require pharmacists to
but
take
still the bill was
action,
changed.
which gave several of us significant concern. And this is the opposite in that very significant aspect.
The opposition, I think she just stated, the difference, and so did us. Is wrong, my speaker.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson.
is somebody here from Medical Society of Virginia or hospitals? I mean, I'm reading this, but it seemed like a couple people voted against it in the House, not that always means anything, but.
Yes, please. Scott?
Yes, Madam Chairman, members of the committee, Scott Johnson for the Medical Society. The introduced bill, at the very end of the bill, had some new language dealing with the Board of Medicine, which we found objectionable. We worked with the patron and DHP to remove all of that language, and basically the DHP language says if a prescriber wants to prescribe off-label, and if they do it consistent with the standard of care trying to help a patient, then they may do it. Off-label prescribing has been around for a long time. The FDA permits it. But ironically, we have nothing in Virginia law that says Virginia law mirrors the federal law. So that's what we worked on, and in its form now, we're fine with the bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Brent Rawlings for the Virginia Hospital and Healthcare Association. Our main concern with the bill rested in the Code Section 32.1-127 that puts some limitations on the ability of the medical staff to privilege and credential the physicians. We suggested or submitted that there's already existing code language at 32.1-134.1 that deals with the protocols to follow when disciplining physicians around differences of opinion about the medical standard of care in the facility. And we suggest that that's the appropriate area to address that. We don't need that additional language in the code on that 32.1. That was our only concern with that.
So do you support the bill?
Senator Sasslaw?
Not with this language.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Senator Peterson?
So let me ask, doctor, come on back. Not doctor,
Not
but
doctor.
speaking for doctors.
Speaking for hospitals, sir.
Speaking for hospitals, okay. Lines 252 to 256 seems to me that's the kind of guts of the bill. That basically, the regulations promoted by the board, and it says shall prohibit a hospital from denying, revoking, terminating, or curtailing in any way professional or clinical privileges of healthcare providers with prescriptive authority. And the part at the end. So you all object to that part?
Yes, medical staffs are intended to be self-governing, and this would
Right.
place limitations on their ability to manage their medical staff within
So
their.
who you would allow to have privileges, in other words?
Yes, sir.
Okay, got it. All right, thanks.
Yes.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Christina Borelli, representing the Virginia Pharmacists Association, and we support this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to wrap it up, Delegate?
Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the board. Senator Harshman?
Thank you. Just a question for the patron. Is this then emerging from the same goal, desire of the previous bill that we heard from the Senate that is connected to the prescription of ivermectin and other similar hydroxychloroquine, et cetera? Is this where the need for the bill is coming from?
So the need for the bill is, I do privacy for healthcare for a living, and I have watched the decisions for healthcare move farther and farther into corporate level and away from the doctor and the patient. But this is the very first time, and you mentioned the drugs that this has triggered the issue of coming for the very first time in our history directly between the doctor and the patient. I have an off-label drug that I have used for over 10 years. I've had the same doctor for over 30 years. And when I developed this cough that would turn into pneumonia within days, we tested for allergies, we tested for asthma, and he finally said, Karen, I can't figure out what's wrong with you. We've tried everything. I want you to try this. It's for asthma. It won't hurt you, but it might help, and it has helped. I'm functioning because of this prescription I've had for 10 years. That's what I'm trying to protect. And if they want to prescribe any off-label drug, as long as it's within the standard of care, which I gave you a copy, the standard of care is defined in Virginia Code. As long as it's within the standard of care and for the benefit of the patient, and the patient has the decision, it could be any off-label drug. This is not a goal to protect a single one. As a patient and as a privacy practitioner.
Senator Peterson, hold on a second, Senator Peterson. Senator Hospital's not done yet.
Thank you. Just a follow-up question.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a question that I've been meaning to ask, actually. I'm not sure why we need prescriptive authority for ivermectin. Can't I just order it off of Amazon or buy it at the local farm store? I've seen it on Amazon that I can get the tubes of the paste from there. So why do we need prescriptive authority?
Well, my concern isn't how you would get ivermectin if you wanted it. My concern, the purpose of my bill, is to protect that doctor-patient relationship. And I apologize for all the paper, but as you can see, in Virginia Code, it's actually a triad. The Virginia Code says that the doctor with the patient and the pharmacist has a bona fide relationship, and by law, only a doctor with a bona fide relationship with that patient is allowed to prescribe. So if we step in between that and say what they may and may not prescribe, we're interfering for the very first time with that relationship. And we have someone who does not have a bona fide relationship making medical decisions for a patient. That is the sole purpose. That's the reason I'm sorry, I get excited.
Okay, well, we can see that, but hold on, Senator Peterson.
Let me ask a different
Senator
question.
Peterson.
May I ask a question?
You can, but
I'm
Senator
sorry,
Locke
Ms.
was next. Senator Locke was next in the queue coming back to you. Okay. She said, "You go right ahead."
Well, here's
You
my
on a
question.
roll.
And by the way, I sympathize greatly with doctors versus hospitals, or it's sort of the little guy versus big guy. I sympathize greatly, but here's the issue. If there's an issue of malpractice, the hospital is going to get sued. And so they might say, you know what, we've looked at a particular drug. We don't want people with our privileges prescribing that drug because if something goes wrong, we may get sued. And as a policy, we're not going to permit people with our privileges to prescribe that drug. I mean, that may be a policy decision that they make. I mean, what you're saying here, isn't that sort of getting in the way of these private contractual relationships?
May I respond? Because that's why I worked so closely with stakeholders to make sure that this was written so it does not, in any way, there is no intent and it's not written to keep the hospitals from doing anything that they feel they need to do. This is solely the act of prescribing and dispensing. If there's an adverse effect, I would expect the hospital to do their investigation, whatever processes they have in place, with the help of the DHP. I would expect all of those processes to continue. This only gives the right to write the prescription. If there's an adverse effect, I would expect it to follow the same procedure that it would for any other medication or any other situation.
I have let this go with a bit over time, but Senator Locke, you still? Senator Locke?
Madam Chair, and I should have a speaker online, just so you know.
We've heard, yeah, right, Senator Locke, and then we're going to move for a motion, because the essence of the bill has already been heard. Senator Locke?
I just have one quick question, Delegate. What confidence do we have that should this bill move out of here, that it will not be amended to reinsert all of this language later on?
Well, I have no way of knowing that anyone would insert language, but all I can do is give you the best bill I have. I can't imagine anyone inserting language when it's as targeted as it is to address one particular issue, which is protecting what we have in Virginia Code already, that bona fide relationship, that triad. We're protecting that, and I would never, if I were asked if I could add language, I would say no, because I've worked so closely with the stakeholders to make sure we're not off on an irrational tangent. I want only to protect what we already have in code.
Thank you, but
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, that's not the last stop. The governor gets the last word. Senator Saslaw?
If the governor were to amend this, to put language back in similar to what we saw earlier from one of our members, would you get up on the floor and reject that amendment?
If language is added in that went beyond the scope of my bill, is that what you're?
That's correct.
No,
If he
I would
adds
stand up
back
and
in-
fight that.
If he adds back in what your original bill was, will you reject it?
I want my bill to stay exactly the way it's written, and I would object to any amendment. I see your concern. I would object to anything that put this beyond the scope.
Yep.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay, now I have one, Senator Edwards, you're going to be the last speaker on this bill, and then I want a motion.
I'm trying to figure out, why do you need it? You said your doctor can prescribe off-label drugs anyway. So I'm not sure what the bill does. How does that help you?
Well, it's traditional, but as Scott Johnson with the MSV said, we don't have the protection in law, and for the first time, it's being interfered with. And I don't know if I should continue. I talk too much, but we know when people with power get more power, they don't give it back. I'm just afraid of where this will go if we don't stop it now.
I need to entertain a motion. We have a lot of bills still left on this docket. Am I getting a motion here?
Move to report.
Substitute motion.
Substitute motion has precedence.
Pass it by indefinitely.
There's a motion and a second to PBI the bill.
Got the hospitals in opposition to this, that's a problem.
There's a motion and a second and some opposition here on our big dais. But all in favor of the bill or not, please designate your preference on, we're voting on the PBI. Voting on the, we're voting to PBI the bill, so. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Ayes 8, no 7, the bill is PBI.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next bill, of course, is Senate Bill 711, and that bill was passed by indefinitely. I'm going to move back now to our clerk, to our council.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 217, patroned by Delegate Simons. It was similar to SB 261, patroned by Senator Hashmi. That bill passed out of this committee 15-0, but then was continued to 2023 in finance on a vote of 16-0.
Motion, please.
Madam
Oh, sorry, Delegate Simon. I'm sorry. I was reading and I need to be looking.
Madam Chair, may I tell you a little bit about the bill?
Okay, can you do it in 2 minutes?
Yes.
Thank you. I would appreciate that very much.
Thank you. Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee, I have HB 217 before you today, which directs the existing STEM Advisory Board to review labor statistics and has no fiscal impact. This bill is a continuation of our efforts to make sure our students are ready for jobs in science and technology. It's supported by the Richmond and Nova Tech Councils. It was brought to me by Code VA, which advocates for computer science education. The problem that we are trying to solve is that currently many jobs in military
Madam Chair, I think we all support what the delegate's trying to do. We just need to know how this is different than the way Senator Hashmi's trying to do it.
Could you just explain the
We
difference
like what
between your
Senator
bill and
Hashmi brought us, and we all supported that, and we just need to know
the difference
if we like
between?
your approach different, or we just want to send it to conference.
Senator Hashmi?
Madam Chair, if I could just address, we did in fact really like it. It's identical bills. I was not sure why Finance decided to pass it by for a year. There is really no fiscal impact, and it does not change any, it does not adversely impact any kind of budgetary issues.
May I
Well,
respond?
can you wrap it up in about 30 seconds?
Yes, yes. So this bill does not have any fiscal impact. I feel that it really is urgent that we pass it right now because currently many jobs in military, healthcare, agriculture, and shipbuilding are not counted as STEM jobs. We already have the STEM Advisory Board, and they can do this work. And in fact, they would like to do this work.
Delegate Simons, you're out of time, but I wanted just to make sure that everybody knows that this bill has been asked to be re-referred to Finance. It's the first one on the list to go to Senate Finance, and that's House Bill 217. So Senator Hashmi, with the recommendation, whoever makes the recommendation, it will also have to be re-referred to Finance.
I move that the bill be reported and re-referred to Finance.
You've heard the motion?
We're not going to conform to Hashmi?
It's not asking me for conformity, just to send it to Finance.
Oh, they are now? Oh,
Move to report.
Yep.
And move to, okay, there's a motion to report and re-refer to Senate Finance, and there's a second, and a lot of conversation with that. So everybody would designate your preference on the electronic voting board. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Thank you, committee.
You're welcome, I think. Back to council.
Madam Chair, next is HB 221, patroned by Delegate Davis, passed out of the House 100 to 0. It is similar to SB 239, patroned by Senator Hashmi, and that had a similar situation where it passed out of this committee 15 to 0 and then was continued in Finance on a vote of 14 to 2.
There's a motion to report and re-refer to Senate Finance. And a second. Please designate your preference on the electronic voting board. The clerk's working on it. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill will be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance. Council?
Madam Chair, next is HB 264, patroned by Delegate Head, passed out of the House 99 to 0. It is similar to SB 369, patroned by Senator Stewart. I will defer to Delegate Head at this point.
Delegate Head, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. As I understand, the stakeholders on this have asked that we stick with my language and that Senator Stewart's bill is being conformed to this one, and that will keep it out of the need for conference if we're going forward. I think we've got everything locked in place in this format. If you need me to explain that, I'm happy to, and Mr. Johnson's here as well.
Well, I think Senator Cosgrove, you're the only speaker right now.
Just very quickly, can you sing for us while you're here?
No, I'm only kidding. It's a little early.
Your event's tonight, isn't it?
I do better when I have a partner. You know, it's just.
Move to report.
It's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported, and let me see, that's not one that's going to Finance. Nope, okay, so we don't have to re-refer that one to Finance. All in favor, designate your preference on the electronic voting board. You got a bill
Ayes 15,
reported.
no zero.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Council?
Madam Chair, next is HB 319, patroned by Delegate Coiner. It is similar to your SB 616. There is a conforming line amendment in the packet. There's just a small difference in the enactment clauses of the bills.
Could you read that so that members will know what it is?
Chair, the amendment is on line 933. After the number 2, we're going to strike the enactment clause and insert that except for the provisions of subsection G of 22.1-253.132 of the Code of Virginia as amended by this act, which shall become effective beginning with the 2022 to 2023 school year. The provisions of this act shall become effective beginning with the 2024 to 2025 school year.
Yep, that's it. There's a motion to approve the amendment and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. So now, right.
It needs to go to finance.
It needs to go to finance, so, yes. So there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported as amended and be referred to Senate Finance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported and will be re-referred with the amendment to Senate Finance.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 356, patroned by Delegate Tata. It passed out of the House on a vote of 50 to 48. It is similar to SB 125 by Senator Obenshain, and that bill failed to report from this committee on a vote of 7 to 8.
Motion? Substitute motion is in order.
Move to pass by indefinitely.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be PBI. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. The PBI.
Oh, yeah.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6. The bill passed by indefinitely.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 525, patroned by Delegate Murphy. It is similar to SB 439, patroned by Senator Boysko. I believe the House conformed Senator Boysko's bill to the House bill, and Delegate Murphy is all right with us doing the same.
Yes,
so the
she
bills can go to
did,
conference.
she did make that statement this morning. There's a motion and a second to conform the bill to the Senate bill, to Senate Bill 439. All in favor, say aye. That's conformed. Now, can I get a motion on the measure? It's been moved and properly seconded that the bill be reported, and that's House Bill 525 with a substitute. All in favor, designate electronically. Close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported with a substitute.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 565, patroned by Delegate O'Quinn. It is similar to SB 685, patroned by Senator Mason, which passed out of this committee on a vote of 13 to 0. I'll defer to Delegate Quinn.
Delegate O'Quinn?
Yes, Madam Chairman. If we're going to use my version of the bill, I do have a fairly simple line amendment.
Okay, does council have it? She will read that line amendment to us so that everybody will understand where we are.
On line 19, after partnership, we're going to insert the Director of the State Council for Higher Education of Virginia, the Chancellor of the Virginia Community College System, and the Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Can I get a motion on that amendment? Second. It's been moved and properly seconded that the amendment be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. We have it. The bill is now amended. Delegate O'Quinn?
Madam Chair, so you've already heard this bill from Senator Mason, so I'm not going to belabor it, but it does establish a goal towards awarding 25,000 new advanced manufacturing credentials. This bill originated through Newport News Shipbuilding, and when I saw the idea, I thought it's a good idea for statewide. So that's the goal. I think both of us have funding in the budget, albeit slightly different amounts.
Okay.
So the intent of the bill is the same.
Senator Newman?
Just making sure, being fair to Senator Mason, what's the difference between what you have and what Senator Mason has as a substitute in our packet?
So the bill that I have is much more descriptive than the substitute that Senator Mason had adopted. Senator Pilley and I actually talked to him yesterday prior to a committee. I think he prefers this version. I don't want to speak out of school, but I think that's accurate.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Motion?
And refer to finance.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the bill be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance. All in favor, please designate electronically. Nays have same right. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported and will be referred to Senate Finance with that amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're very welcome.
Madam Chair, next is HB 679. It passed the House 99 to 0, patroned by Delegate Hope. It is similar to SB 300, patroned by Senator Deeds. I received notice from Senator Deeds' office that if reported, they would like the House version to pass without conforming.
Without conforming.
And his bill passed out of this committee 13 to 1 to 1.
Any questions on the bill? I'd like to entertain a motion. It's been moved and probably second that House Bill 679 be reported, and I don't see that Senate Finance is asking for that bill. Yes, it is. No, that's not the right bill. Okay, so, no, it's not. It's 769. But we have a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair, next is HB 684, patroned by Delegate Hope. It passed the House 99 to 0. It is similar to SB 119, patroned by Senator Hanger. I don't see Delegate Hope here. I do have new agreed upon line amendments that would make the bills identical.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the amendment. All in favor say aye. Okay, noes have the same right. It's been moved and second that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported with the amendment.
Madam Chair, next is HB 857, patroned by Delegate Reed. It passed the House 99 to 0. It is similar to SB 71, patroned by Senator Rupp, which passed out directly from Finance on a vote of 16 to 0. There is one small difference, and the line amendment is in the packet, and I'm happy to read it if you all would like.
Anybody want to hear the amendment? No. It's been moved and seconded that the amendment be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye. It's been moved and
Go to finance.
it's been moved and reported. Yes, it does have to go to finance. It has been moved
Senator Ruff.
that the bill be reported with the amendment and then be referred to Senate Finance. All in favor, designate electronically.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Have a good day, Delegate Reed.
Madam Chair, should I do 1138 while I'm standing here?
Is that in another block of bills? I'm sorry, you're gonna have to take your seat for another minute.
Okay.
All right, Madam Chair, next is HB 900, passed the House 100 to 0, patroned by Delegate Avoli. It is similar to SB 130, patroned by Senator Favola, and per the patron agreement, she has asked that we report the House bill without conforming. There's
Madam Chair.
just technical differences.
Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson.
can I call this the Favoli bill?
Yeah. We'll make you an offer you can't
There you
refuse.
go.
Don't
All
forget
right.
that, okay?
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported, and Madam Chair of Finance, do you need that bill? Okay. It's been moved and and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically. The Favoli bill has been passed.
Ayes
Thank you,
15, no
Madam
zero.
Chair.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 933, patroned by Delegate Robinson. It passed out of the House 93 to 5. It is similar to SB 671, patroned by Senator Donovan. And I have heard from both patrons that they would like the House bill to continue.
Well, it's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor, designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Senator Barker, how do you vote? How do you vote, sir? Your vote will be noted. Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair, next is HB 939, also patroned by Delegate Robinson, and it is similar to SB 647, patroned by Senator Donovan. Same situation. I've heard from Senator Donovan, and she is okay with the House bill continuing on.
It's been moved. I hear a second that the bill be reported. All in favor of reporting House Bill 939, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero, the bill is reported.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 990. The patron is Delegate Runyon. It is similar to SB 232, patroned by Senator Suderline. In similar situation, I believe Senator Suderline is okay with the House bill continuing.
Senator Suderline hasn't said anything, so I'd like to have a motion. It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Please designate your preference electronically. Thank you.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero, the bill is reported. That is House Bill 990.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 1001, patroned by Delegate Runyon, passed out of the House 99-0. It is similar to SB 55, patroned by Senator Cosgrove. There are conforming line amendments in your packet. That bill passed out of this committee on a vote of 15-0.
Senator Cosgrove moved, and it's been seconded that the amendments be adopted. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, now we're with the bill as with the amendment. It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Your bill is reported unanimously, Delegate Runyon.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 1071, patroned by Delegate Tran, passed out of the House 100-0. It is similar to SB 201, patroned by Senator Favola, and there is a conforming substitute in your packet. This bill passed out 15-0 from this committee.
I move to substitute.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor say aye. The bill is now.
I move to report.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported and referred to Senate Finance. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported and will be referred to Senate Finance with the substitute.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 1187, patroned by Delegate Helmer. It is similar to SB 317, patroned by Senator Favola. I believe there is a new substitute that Delegate Helmer will introduce to make the bills identical, and the bill passed out of this committee 15-0.
Delegate Helmer?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, the substitute aligns the two bills. I talked to Senator Favola this morning. We're both in support of it. If you choose to move and report the substitute, those bills will align. And
could I get a motion on the substitute? It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, the bill has been amended for the substitute. Now can I get a motion on the? I got a motion and a second. I don't.
Yeah, you do, but it's not going to pass.
Okay, this is not going to finance. Okay, we have a motion to report with the substitute. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. The bill is reported with the
Ayes
substitute.
15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported with the substitute.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 1191, patroned by Delegate Ranson. It is similar to SB 361, patroned by Senator Stewart. There is a conforming substitute in your packet. The bill was reported from Education and Health on a vote of 15-0.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, now we have the substitute before us. It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor of that motion, designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Delegate Ransom, your bill is reported with the substitute.
Thank you.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 1272, patroned by Delegate Batten. It passed out of the House 52-48. This bill is identical to the version of SB 739 by Senator Donovan that passed out of the Senate. The language before you does not contain the governor's amendments, which were added by the House.
Yes. We have Delegate Batten before us. Delegate Batten.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. House Bill 1272 is in fact the companion to Senate Bill 739 that has already passed out of the Senate. Bill requires each school board to offer in-person instruction to each student enrolled in the local school division in a public elementary or secondary school, except in the case of the 10 unscheduled remote learning days otherwise permitted by law. Includes language clarifying that parents can choose whether or not their child wears a mask at school, and includes a recommendation from the School Board Association that schools are still allowed to remove a student from school for disciplinary reasons. And I believe that there are amendments to my bill that would conform it to.
Can we get a motion on the amendments to conform it? It's been moved and probably second that the bill be amended to conform.
Madam Chair, the bill, Delegate Batten's bill is identical to the version of Senator Donovan's bill that passed out of the Senate. So I don't think conforming is necessary.
Okay. All right, so we don't need that motion? All right, and so
All right.
Senator Suderline and Senator Peterson.
Well, do you have what I like to call the Peterson Amendment en masse?
Yes, Senator, I do.
Great. Well, then I move to report it.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion designate. Senator Peterson.
Okay, my colleague, my conscience to the left here says we should add the governor's amendments, or isn't that moot at this point? That's already a bill. I would just, let's just go to. Right, okay. No, keep that off. All right, can we, the current motion?
Well, we do have the
report.
motion. There is a motion on the floor.
Move to report.
Okay, we have a second motion on the floor. It's been moved and probably second twice that the bill be reported. Oh, I'm sure you do. Please designate electronically.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Ayes 8, no 7. The bill, Senator Peterson. Yeah, right. Bill's reported. Returning back to the.
Madam Chair, the last similar bill is HB 1323, patroned by Delegate Orrock. It is similar to SB 672, patroned by Senator Donovan. I believe there's a new substitute to make the bills identical, but we may want to wait for Delegate Orrock or Senator Donovan on this one, if that's all right.
Okay, we'll suspend on that for a moment. We can come back to that one. Okay, now we're with the bills from the Subcommittee on Health Professions, and that report will be given to us by Senator Lewis.
Wrong committee. Wrong chair.
I am so sorry, and you all do not look alike.
Yeah, Senator Lewis thanks you for that comment. So. All right. Actually, we have a number of bills here, and they all were worked out and passed unanimously from the recommended unanimously reporting all of them. First is House Bill 84 from Delegate Kilgore, and this would allow volunteer audiologists who are licensed out of state to provide free health care in underserved areas of the Commonwealth on a temporary basis. So simply, some of them have participated in the RAM clinics down in Southwest Virginia, that type of thing. So I would, it was recommended for reporting on a vote for 7-0, and I make the motion to report it.
It's been moved and properly second that House Bill 84 be reported. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically.
Yes.
Clerk, close the roll.
Senator. Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported.
All right. Next one is House Bill 145 by Delegate Head. This one deals with the practice of physician assistants. It's just a small listing of a couple of changes to be able to that are unaddressed right now. It's not changing anything from one category, from one situation to another, but just adding them for hospice program licensing, the bill adds physician's assistants to the list of hospice personnel who may be part of a physician-directed, medically directed interdisciplinary team. So it's just simple technical types of things. The subcommittee recommended reporting on a vote of 7-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that House Bill 145 be reported. Please designate your preference on the electronic voting board. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
All right, next is House Bill 192. This is from Delegate Hodges. It deals with the prescription of opioids and utilization of the prescription monitoring program. And again, it was just dealing with the issue of sunset. The subcommittee recommended reporting on a vote of 8-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and probably second that House Bill 192 be reported. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
All right, the next bill is House Bill 285 by Delegate Don Adams. This deals with clinical nurse specialists. It's just taking care of a technical fix to legislation that we had passed last year, and she had been the patron of that. And it just picks up a couple of little things that clinical nurse specialists can do as part of practice agreements with a physician and others. And on a vote of 7-0, the subcommittee recommended reporting, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
All right, next is House Bill 286. That's also by Delegate Don Adams. As a patron of that, deals with nurse practitioners and declaration of death and cause of death. Right now, the nurse practitioners who are operating autonomously on their own, not part of a practice with a physician, they are not authorized to basically declare death and the cause of the death. And what this would do is allow those that are in those autonomous positions to be able to do that.
Okay.
And the subcommittee recommended reporting on a vote of 7-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported, and that is House Bill 286. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Barker, you have one more bill?
One more bill, House Bill 745 from Delegate Bell. It's dealing with respiratory therapists. And what this does is it allows a person who has graduated from an accredited respiratory therapy program but is not fully licensed yet to practice with the title of respiratory therapist, licensed applicant until the person either passes or fails the exams. And the subcommittee recommended reporting on a vote of 8-0, and I so move.
You heard the motion? And a second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically. Thank you so much. Clerk, close the roll. Thank you,
Ayes
Senator Barker.
14, no zero. Abstentions 1.
Ayes 14, no zero, abstention 1. The bill is reported. Thank you, Senator Barker, for that very fine report. Now we're going to go to the Senate Subcommittee on Higher Education. Senator Locke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First bill is House Bill 419 from Delegate Delaney. This bill deals with education preparation programs, coursework, and audits. The bill does several things, but primarily the bill requires the Department of Education to audit at least once every 7 years each education preparation program in alignment with each program's accreditation cycle for compliance with such requirements. And the provisions of the bill become effective beginning with the 2024-2025 school year.
Okay.
And on a vote of 5-0, the subcommittee recommends reporting, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that this bill be reported, and that is House Bill 419. Please designate your preference on electronic voting board. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 14, noes 1.
Ayes 14, noes 1. The bill is reported. Senator Locke.
Second bill was House Bill 526 from Delegate Batten. This bill deals with victims of human trafficking and eligibility for in-state tuition. It provides that a non-Virginia student who is currently present in the Commonwealth as a result of being a victim of human trafficking, as defined in the bill, would be eligible for in-state tuition. And on a vote of 5-0, the subcommittee recommended reporting, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Please designate your preference on electronic voting board. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. My mic went out. Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported. Senator Locke.
Next bill, also from Delegate Batten, House Bill 539, deals with the criminal history of students applying for college, higher institutions of higher education. A few years ago, maybe a couple of sessions ago, there was legislation that was essentially a ban the box piece of legislation that allows students to apply without indicating a record that allowed them to at least have a chance at being admitted to an institution of higher education. What this bill does is essentially what becomes an end run around that piece of legislation. It requires each public institution of higher education to include a disclosure to each applicant that certain criminal convictions may disqualify such applicant from pursuing his intended course of study or living in student housing, if applicable, and that applicants may contact the institution of higher education to learn more about what criminal convictions preclude individuals from pursuing a certain course of study or living in student housing. This subcommittee recommended reporting on a vote of 3-2, and I was one of those two. So
I will move to report.
Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson.
I'm sorry.
I was going to have a substitute motion to PBI.
There's a substitute motion to PBI.
Second.
And second.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Senator Peterson, yes, you may.
Yeah, I was one of the bad people that voted for this, and maybe I need to get sort of a better feel for why this is a negative idea. So maybe somebody on the panel has a comment, but to me, it seems like it's a disclosure. So if someone could sort of give me the.
Senator Locke is a practitioner in higher education, being
Yes,
the
ma'am.
professor.
the legislation previously simply would allow students an opportunity to, at the very least, get a head start on being admitted to an institution of higher education by, at least at the very beginning, not disclosing a criminal record. And it does not preclude the institution from asking later on in the process about that criminal record. It's just at the very beginning.
Okay.
So the institution certainly can ask later on. This is simply at the very beginning.
Senator Peterson?
If the word shall was changed to may, and I'm not trying to save the bill, I mean, I don't think it's Delegate Batten's reelection bill, but the bottom line is, if it's just a disclosure, is there anything wrong with that, saying, hey, if you have a felony conviction and you want to live in our student housing, it may be an issue? Just, I don't.
Madam Chair, if I.
Yes, I have one more question by a member of the committee first. Senator Hashmi.
I just wanted to address some of the issues, but I'll let the delegate respond to the senator's question.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the point, 2 years ago, this body passed legislation to ban the box, and during that time, we heard testimony from institutions of higher education that they would still be performing background checks on certain individuals depending on what their housing options were and what their intended major was. And this bill simply is a disclosure bill that lets an applicant know that, there will be a background check that may be performed on you somewhere down the road in the application process. And if you'd like more information on that, here's how to contact the university.
Okay, Madam.
I have two other speakers. I have Senator Hashmi, Senator Cosgrove, and then Senator Peterson. I'll come back to you. Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I know one of the issues, we just passed this legislation to ban the box and to really give folks who are applying for application or want to seek to start their education the opportunity to do that without already coming in with this target, basically. And the colleges and universities do have the opportunity to do the background checks, but this is, original bill was designed to not be an impediment to individuals and to alleviate the concerns from application. Now, the delegate had shared with us that sometimes students go through the application process, they pay application fees, et cetera, and then learn that they cannot be admitted to certain programs. We know at our community colleges there are no application fees, so that's not really an issue for many community college students. Housing issues, again, with the background checks, that can be performed at a later point, but the original bill that we passed was designed to create increased access and opportunity, and I encourage us to keep that formula so that we can not create another barrier for students' applications.
Okay, Senator Zaslow obviously has some concerns. Senator Cosgrove, and then back to Senator Peterson. Not on this one. No.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think we're getting lost in a partisan fog on this one. This bill only is a disclosure bill by the university to the student. That student goes and wants to go into a particular course of study where their background, no matter what their admission status is, if their background is going to preclude them from practicing in that field, instead of them spending tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars for a course of study that they will not be able to use once they get out of school, whether it be for a security clearance or whether it be in criminal justice or whether it be in different sciences that are protected. This bill only says, the university says, hey, if you pursue this, we're not going to keep you from pursuing it, but you may not be able to use it. And that's all this bill does. It doesn't have a thing to do with ban the box. It doesn't have a thing to do with college admissions. All it does is help that student because the university is going to say, hey, think twice before this course of study. Maybe you want to change majors. That's it. That's all this bill does. Thank you.
Senator Peterson and then Senator Lott.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, as usual, I'm learning from my colleagues here, and they're exactly right. This is a bill to try, or a statute to try and open the door to students. I don't have a problem with the information because I think Senator Cosgrove is right that there are going to be certain professions or student residential options that if you have certain convictions, you won't be able to take advantage of that. I think the word shall, though, is probably a little bit more than what we need. I would amend that to may and make this a permissive to the universities. I don't know if the delegate, if you're amenable to that, but that I think that's what I would make that motion, if I can get a second. All right.
Well, there is a motion and a second to amend. That is correct. We already have a motion on the floor, Senator Peterson. I'm sorry.
To do what?
The PBI.
Well, I'm going to vote against PBI then. Okay.
Okay, Senator Lott.
I mean, I'm not foggy at all. I see through it. And if a student is indeed pursuing a course of study, they can always be counseled otherwise once they're enrolled in an institution. I mean, as a former advisor, at an institution of higher education, I talk to students all the time about what they're majoring in and what they can do with that major, and they can always change a major. So, so this is, again, an end run.
Okay, there's still a motion on the floor to pass the bill by indefinitely. So are we clear on what the motion is? All in favor or not of that motion, please designate electronically.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Ayes 8, no 7, the bill is passed by indefinitely.
Thank you.
Senator Locke.
Our final bill was Senate Bill 582, patroned by Delegate Rome, which addressed the SNAP program. It requires each public institution of higher education to ensure that all students have access to accurate information about the SNAP program, including eligibility and how to apply. And on a vote of 5-0, the subcommittee recommended reporting, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 14, noes 1.
Ayes 14, noes 1. The bill is reported. Senator Locke, thank you for your report. Our next subcommittee report is on health, and that's going to come from Senator Lewis. Senator Lewis.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the first bill we considered was House Bill 93 by Delegate Head. Madam Chair, this bill changes the license renewal requirement for home health organizations from an annual renewal to a triannual renewal. And the bill prohibits the Department of Health, upon renewal of a home care organization license, from requiring home care organizations to submit financial documents other than those required for the initial licensure. Madam Chair, there was no opposition expressed during testimony before the subcommittee, and it was the subcommittee's recommendation that the full committee report the bill, and that recommendation was on a 5-0 basis, and so I so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported, and that's House Bill 93. All in favor, please designate electronically. Nays have the same right. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported. Senator Lewis.
Yeah, Madam Chair, next we took up House Bill 229 by Delegate Coiner. And this bill, I'm also told, Madam Chair, needs to go to Finance. This bill directed the Department of Health to collect and analyze information, including demographic data regarding social determinants of health. And that is defined in the bill, and their impact, and those determinants impact on health risks and outcomes for residents of the Commonwealth, and also strategies for addressing social determinants of health to improve those health outcomes and make it available to the public on the website. There was a substitute adopted by the, or recommended adopted by the subcommittee, Madam Chair, and I would move the substitute.
There's a motion on the substitute and a second. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Senator Lewis.
And Madam Chair, was the recommendation, and again, no opposition was expressed. And the substitute, Madam Chair, simply removes, it rewrites Section B of the bill to remove the fiscal impact from the bill. And so what this does, now we recommended reporting 5-0, and again, there was no opposition expressed in the subcommittee hearing.
But Senator Lewis, I'm still showing that this bill, that is House Bill 229, needs to go to Finance.
Yes, ma'am, Madam
Even
Chair,
though it
I said
doesn't
that
have any
too.
fiscal impact.
So apparently the substitute was unnecessary, but in any event, so I would.
Because that was the mood.
Nice try, but we, so I would move that, or recommend that we, move that we report the substitute, and re-refer to Finance.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Okay, and then a second, that the bill be reported and that it be referred to Senate Finance. All in favor, please designate electronically. Thank you. The clerk will now close the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill will be reported.
Madam Chair, we took House Bill 239 from Delegate Orrock, and this bill, let me move the amendments. There were amendments suggested to the bill, Madam Chair, so I would move the amendments.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported and
Amended.
be amended. All in favor of the motion to approve the amendments, please say aye.
Aye.
Senator Lewis.
So,
now.
Madam Chair, this directed the Secretary of Health and Human Services to study current oversight and regulation of nursing homes. Delegate Orrock testified that he had had some recent personal experience with a family member that gave rise to this bill, and also assisted living facilities and other congregate living settings to improve efficiency and effectiveness of regulation and oversight. The amendments as adopted, Madam Chair, are recommended adopted by the subcommittee and now adopted by us, it removes the language in the original bill that required the work group that's contained in the bill to develop recommendations regarding consolidation of oversight and regulation of nursing homes. So that removed that.
That's for assisted living and other congregate living situations?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right.
And Madam Chair, I would therefore move, in the committee, subcommittee recommended 5-0 that we recommend reporting the bill as amended, and I would so move.
It's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor, please designate your preference electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported with the amendment. Senator Lewis.
Madam Chair, we took up our final bill on the OROC docket of the subcommittee, House Bill 235. And that bill, Madam Chair, directed the Board of Health to convene a work group to provide recommendations regarding regulations for hospitals to develop protocols connecting patients receiving rehabilitation services to follow-up care. And again, this came from Delegate Orrock's recent personal experience that there was a lack of making sure that patients, once discharged, receive the follow-up care they need to make sure that the post-discharge care or therapy that they may need was actually being obtained by the discharged patient.
Okay.
And this work group is to report back to the Board of Health by October 1, 2022. Again, 5-0, no opposition, and so I've so moved that we recommend that we report.
It's been moved and second that House Bill 235 be reported, and I don't see that this does not have to go to Senate Finance. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair, next we took up Delegate Helmer's 481, and this, Madam Chair, we took heard a lot of testimony on this bill, but unfortunately, after all that testimony, there was no motion on the bill.
Madam Chair,
Senator Saslow.
technically, this bill, since there was no motion, is still before the subcommittee.
Put your mic on. Put your mic on, please.
Technically, with no motion, one way or another, the bill, as I understand the rules, would still be before the subcommittee. And we do meet, I think, Senator Lewis at least one more time.
I think that's correct, Senator Saxon.
And it seemed to me that either we can, Senator Delegate Helmer may be able to sit down and work something out with the Health Committee, but if not, there'll be a recommendation one way or another, I can guarantee you the next time.
Delegate Helmer, it seems to me that you're going to have another bite at this apple, so you will go back to the subcommittee. When does the subcommittee meet, Senator Lewis?
We meet on Tuesdays.
So you'll go back to the
Tuesday afternoon at 4.
Go back to the subcommittee on Tuesday at 4 and see if you can work that out with the other stakeholders between now and then.
Madam Chairman, if I might, before we send them off.
Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you. I spoke with several people on this bill, and there is concern about the two different reporting processes. You know, one is a federal reporting process, the other is not. Does one, do away with the other? And there's a lot of concern there, so I'm glad it's going back to sub so we can get straightened out.
Okay, thank you. We'll give you another bite at the apple. Thank you. Okay. Senator Lewis.
All right, Madam Chair. Then we took up House Bill 663 from Delegate Hope. And this, similar to the OROC bill earlier, reorganizes and clarifies provisions governing mandatory outpatient treatment. And this bill also eliminates provisions allowing for a single order for a period of involuntary inpatient treatment followed by a period of mandatory outpatient treatment. Instead requires entry of separate orders for involuntary inpatient and mandatory I said this was similar to Delegate Orrock. It's not. I was confused, Madam Chair. For involuntary inpatient and mandatory outpatient in all cases. The provisions of this bill will become effective October 1, 2022.
Okay.
There are some amendments which are purely technical in nature, Madam Chair, and I would move the amendments.
You've heard a motion for the amendments? And a second. All in favor of adopting the amendments, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
And
Senator Lewis.
Madam Chair, there was no opposition to this bill, and it was after the subcommittee voted on a 5-0 basis to recommend to the full committee that the bill be reported, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor of reporting House Bill 663 with the amendments, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported with the amendments.
Next, Madam Chair, we took up Delegate Hope's 669. This bill dealt with public pools and the regulation of public pools, and it directed the Commissioner of Health to convene a work group to study whether swimming pools and other water recreational facilities for public use or use in conjunction with a tourist facility should be regulated by the Department of Health, and require the work group to report its findings to the Governor, Chairman of the House Committee on Health and Welfare and Institutions, and the Senate Committee on Education and Health by November 1, 2023. We took some testimony on this bill, Madam Chair, and I think some of us on the committee were surprised to find out that the public pools were not already regulated by somebody. And so it was the recommendation of the subcommittee on a 3-2 vote that we recommend reporting the bill, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported.
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman.
Mr. Chair, I mean, at some point, we've got just enough government, and this, to me, is just one of those lines where we've just got enough. And I hope some will vote no, and we have public pools that are taking care of themselves. If they get in trouble, they get sued. And so I just hope at some point, maybe government stops, and this may be where.
Thank you. Did I hear a motion?
I made a motion to report.
Okay, but I don't think I heard a second. I heard a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6, the bill is reported.
Next, Madam Chair, we took up Delegate Hodges' 769. This bill, and actually, Madam Chair, there are some technical amendments that are not substantive, but purely technical. I'd move those amendments.
Okay, you've heard a motion on the technical amendments and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Senator Lewis.
And Madam Chair, what this bill does is establish for the jurisdictions that are listed in the bill, which are primarily rural coastal areas in Virginia, that effective July 1, 2023, management of the pump out requirements for septic systems is going to shift from the locality over to the health department.
Okay.
And so it requires licensed operators conducting on-site sewage system pump outs to shift over to the department and to report the results of the on-site visit using a web-based reporting system. And the bill requires that the Board of Health establish a uniform schedule of civil penalties for violations of the on-site treatment system pump-out requirements. And Madam Chair, it was the recommendation on a vote of 5-0 that we recommend reporting the bill as amended, and I so move.
And re-refer to Senate Finance.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, ma'am, and re-refer to Senate Finance.
You've heard the motion to report.
Madam Chairman.
As amended and re-refer to Senate Finance. Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you. I'm seeing in the explanation on our sheet here that basically if you don't do what this says, you're guilty of a Class 3 misdemeanor. Can I ask Senator Peterson, is a Class 3 misdemeanor considered a criminal offense?
It's a misdemeanor, it's a criminal offense. All misdemeanors are criminal offenses.
So-
I would, Delegate Cosgrove, sorry, Senator Cosgrove, I would point out to you, I believe the current code has it as a Class 1 misdemeanor.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Okay, now we still have a motion on the floor. And second, that the bill be reported with the technical amendments. All in favor of that motion, designate by voting electronically. Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0, the bill is reported.
And then we took up Delegate Price's House Bill 800. Madam Chair, this directed the Department of Medical Assistance Services to coordinate with the Department of Corrections to identify persons in custody of state correctional facilities who are currently enrolled in the Commonwealth's Program of Medical Assistance or who may be eligible for services. And prior to the release of each person, review the eligibility of the currently enrolled individual to ensure continued access to the services, and also or enroll persons not previously enrolled who meet the eligibility requirements. There was no opposition expressed to the bill, and it was our recommendation, I believe, I don't think I see, is it 5-0?
I don't see
I
the
don't either.
subcommittee's vote, but I do see that it passed out of the House 98
Yes,
to
Madam
1.
Chair, it was 5-0.
It was 5-0.
5-0,
Yep, so,
okay.
and I so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill is reported.
I thought, Madam Chair, we had completed the OROC docket, but it has started again. House Bill 910, Hospital Emergency Department requires every hospital in the Commonwealth that includes an emergency department to report quarterly to the Department of Health the total number of visits to the hospital's emergency department, the total number of visits to the hospital's emergency department for emergency department evaluation and management. And the bill also requires the department to annually publish a report setting forth the average number of hospital emergency department visits by location and by emergency department. There was no opposition expressed for the bill, Madam Chair, and it was the subcommittee's recommendation on a vote of 5-0 that we recommend reporting, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically. Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. House Bill 910 from the OROC docket is reported.
Yeah, we've got the final bill, final bill on the OROC docket is House Bill 919, Madam Chair. And there is an amendment to this that clarifies that the Division of Consolidated Labs at the Department of General Services will perform for the work group the laboratory analysis to determine current levels of contamination in public drinking water and possible sources of those contaminants. And so I would move the amendment, Madam Chair.
You've heard a motion on the amendment and a second. It's been moved and second that the amendment be agreed to. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, what the bill does is to study the occurrence of certain contaminants in public drinking water and also and list those which I cannot pronounce. And then the bill also directs the Commissioner to establish a work group to study the occurrence of these contaminants and to report to the Governor and the Chairman of the Ag Committee and Health and Ed of the results of those reports by December 1, 2022. And this bill has to go to Finance, Madam Chair. We did not hear any opposition expressed to the bill, and it was the subcommittee's recommendation on a vote of 5-0 that we recommend the bill be reported and now re-referred to Finance and as amended, and I would so move.
You've heard the motion and a second that the bill be reported with the amendment and re-referred to Senate Finance. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. Clerk will close the roll. Senator Barker, is your button still not working? There it is.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill will be reported and be referred to Senate Finance with the amendment.
And finally, Madam Chair, we heard Delegate Scott's House Bill 1046. This directed the Department of DMAS to study options for and develop a plan to implement a process by which recipients of medical assistance services shall receive payments that may be used to purchase over-the-counter medications and medical supplies prescribed by an authorized prescriber directly in a retail setting and to report the findings and plan to the Governor and Chairman of the House Ed and Health Committees. This bill has also been requested by Finance, Madam Chair, and it was the recommendation of the subcommittee, again, hearing no opposition. It was a recommendation of the subcommittee on a vote of 5-0 that we recommend reporting the bill and now report and re-refer to Finance, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. Thank you. Clerk
Ayes
will close the
15,
roll.
no zero.
Ayes yea. Ayes 15, nays 0. The bill is reported and will be re-referred to Senate Finance.
That completes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Lewis. Now, before we get into the bills before the committee review, I just want you all to notice that Senator Hashmi did not give a subcommittee report. So buckle your seatbelts for next week. Just a little announcement there. Okay, now we're going to move into the section of the bills before the committee. And I see first off, House Bill, is it 294, Madam Counsel? Okay. Delegate Freitas, good to see you again this morning.
Good to see you as well. Thank
I
you
don't
very
have
much.
anything to tweet about yet.
Well, the day is young, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, what HB 294, the problem that we're trying to solve is that when a student is attending a school and they've been a victim of things like assault, battery, hazing, bullying, and they might need to actually go to a safer school, the question is, what is the mechanism in order to facilitate that? Well, obviously, there's certain there's certain processes that we currently have where they can move to a different school within the district. Sometimes they might need to move to a school outside of the district, but there can be costs associated with that. It can be everything from tuition requirements within a public school system. It can also be transportation requirements. So what this does is it takes an existing funding mechanism that we have through the scholarship funds, and it adds students in need of a safer school as an eligible criteria in order to be able to access those funds, so that if tuition was necessary, if transportation costs were necessary, a parent would be able to get that through this process. Again, in order to qualify too, it can't just be a claim by a parent or a student. It actually has to go through an investigative process where the principal has to sign off on it. That's the substance of the bill, and I'd be happy to take any questions from the committee.
Any questions of the Patriot?
Madam Chair,
Senator Edwards.
why is this not just like any other voucher program, giving public school money to students to go to a private school?
Senator Superline, I'm going to get to you in just a moment. Let's let Senator Edwards finish. Senator Edwards, can you speak closer to the mic?
Yeah,
I can
why
barely hear you.
isn't this just like any other voucher program, taking public school money, given to students to go to a private school?
No, Mr. Chairman, not at all. In fact, the scholarship tax credit fund that we have is already in existence. It's already being used for different students that would qualify for it. So it's not taking, like public school directed funds and redirecting toward a private institution. It merely allows a child in need of a safer school to be eligible. And again, specifically in here, more than likely what you're going to have is a student that goes to another public school.
Any further questions of the speaker? Senator Superline?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to reiterate that last point, this would be if, say, someone at one county school had a bad situation and they're going to go to something on the east side of the county instead of the west side of the county, and this will help pay for transportation and other things because they are doing that. Is that part of it?
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Any further questions of the Patriot?
Madam Chair,
Senator Edwards?
this takes the authority away from the public school system, though, the public school boards, to make these decisions whether children should go to school.
Madam Chair, what I would say at that point is, no, it still has to go through a process where the the principal of that school has to investigate it, and it has to be determined that the student actually has been a victim of the various, anything from criminal activity to hazing and bullying and things of that nature. So it still has to go through that process by the principal. And when they sign off and say, yes, this has taken place, then if a parent so choose to be able to move within a different school, they would have eligibility for this funding. That's all it does.
Okay, I see Senator Locke in queue.
If this is called a scholarship tax credit, what makes that different from a voucher program?
So the current scholarship tax credit already exists. So we're not adding any sort of new funding mechanism, we're not adding any sort of new program. It's simply saying that if you have a student would now be eligible if for whatever reason in their current school, they've been a victim of a number of things from, again, it could be violence, it could be bullying, et cetera. So this isn't about setting up a separate voucher program, it's just eligibility based off of a student being a victim at their current school.
Any further questions of the Patriot? We got a little commentary going on over here, so as soon as Senator Saslaw and Senator Superline. I'm waiting for a motion. I thought one of you would.
Move to report.
Second. Needs to go to finance.
And re-refer.
Okay.
Substitute motion.
Senator Locke has a substitute motion.
Move to pass by indefinitely.
The substitute motion is that the bill be passed by indefinitely, and it's been seconded by Senator Howell. All in favor of the substitute motion designated electronically?
Or vote no.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6, the bill is PBI.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you. Now, I was looking at the board going like, I knew that bill. I was not torn. I'm never torn. You think that red vest has gotten to me? Don't count on that one. Okay, now, other bills, let's see, I was looking at that one. Senator Donovan, I know we're gonna, before we get into this next section, we passed by a bill that was Delegate Orock, that's similar to a bill that you have. So if you want to present that bill in his absence, I think that would pretty much clear up the Orock docket.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd be happy to. This is House Bill 1323, and it is we have aligned these bills. There is a substitute that I will present to you
Can
now.
I get a motion on the substitute?
Moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
And second that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye. Substitute's agreed to. Senator Donovan?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So the changes in the bill, this is the bill that looks at pharmacy scope and allows pharmacists to dispense under the algorithms that are set in standardized protocols for the state of Virginia, very much like collaborative agreements that we have on other medications and protocols. And it changes just a few things. One is it requires the pharmacist to provide any patient who does not have a physician names of physicians in the area where they can get primary care. It also requires the pharmacist to report any therapies that are initiated to those physicians. It aligns his bill to mine, which allows vaccination for 3-year-olds and up. And Madam Chairman, it redacts a section about vaccination for birth control for minors. And we're working on an amendment on that, but for now, this is the agreed upon substitute. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'm aligning my bill to the same substitute over in the House committee at this time.
Any questions of Senator Donovan on the Orock bill that has now been aligned to her Senate bill?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Please designate your preference.
It's got to go to finance.
Yes, and has to be referred to finance. Please report this bill.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Senator Hashmi. I'm
sorry,
sorry, I was on the wrong cue.
If I'm correct, Senator Donovan, you said that your bill is being aligned to Senator Delegate Orock's. Am I correct?
Madam Chairman and Senator Hashmi, our bills are being aligned at the same time to a agreed upon substitute that's before you.
Senator Howell.
I also apologize because my mind was going slowly. But you said something about teenage access to contraceptions. What's that part of the bill?
Madam Chairman, in the original bill, it was listed under the part that sought to expand pharmacist action in under 18-year-olds. And it was a part, it was language that I could not get through in a bicameral way. However, I have offered a substitute that, should I be able to build consensus around it, would cite under the 18-year-old and older the code section that speaks to emancipated minors for birth control. I think there's a misunderstanding that somehow dispensing the birth control is the decision-making point, and it's not. We've already decided in the Code of Virginia that minors are emancipated for this, and this is an access issue, so I'm hoping I'm going to be able to be persuasive and get that done. And if so, it'll be a floor amendment for us.
Okay. Did I hear a motion? And a second, that the bill be reported, and that is with the substitute, and then be re-referred to, is that Board of Finance? She said it didn't go to finance before. Yeah, but it's on our list. Yes, and that the bill be referred to City Finance. Please designate your preference on the electronic voting board. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 14, no 0, abstentions 1.
Ayes 14, no 0, abstentions 1. The bill will be reported with the substitute and re-referred to Senate Finance. Okay, now we're going to go back to the calendar, and we're in that section on page 25. Bills before the committee passed unanimously in the House. And we're going to start with House Bill 585, and that is Delegate Van Valkenburg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the committee, House Bill 585 does three things. First, it takes us down to the SOL minimum under ESSO, which is a bill that you all have seen 2 years in the previous 2 years. But unlike that bill, which you have seen, it does two more things. First is it creates a state role for performance-based testing. And then secondly, it creates a delayed implementation of 5 years so that we can get it right. And so real quickly, the kind of why this bill. Right now, we're in a world in which in tandem, you have SOLs and performance-based assessments. And teachers are doing both, okay? But we're moving into a performance-based assessment world. So for instance, for verified credit for social studies, a student just needs to take one SOL to get a verified credit to graduate, which means that if you take a traditional course load, World History 1, World History 2, US History, and Government, you just have to take one SOL out of World History 1, World History 2, US, okay? So what you'll see in a traditional class is you'll see about 5 kids taking the SOL, and then the other 25 will be on the performance-based assessment world. And so if we're going to drop down to the SOL minimum, we also need to have the state playing a role on performance-based assessments for a couple reasons. One is for standards and creating a standard, and second is to have a kind of apples-to-apples comparison so that we know how kids are doing across the state. And what we tend to do in public education is swing between two extremes, which is we give the localities complete control over assessments, or we go the other way. And my fear has always been that if we just allow the localities to do performance-based assessments, our standards will go down. I used to joke that an example, performance-based assessment means different things to different people. And I used to joke that for some people it would mean a poster. I've heard a superintendent use that as an example. I don't think a 5-year-old should be doing a poster as an end-of-year performance-based assessment, let alone a 16-year-old. And so this would seek to create a kind of state standard, and it does that by saying that once in science, biology, once in history, US history, the state will do the test. And there will be a 10% grade for the student as their final that will count as the grade. The point of that is so that everybody's got a little bit of skin in the game. The students got some skin in the game, the teachers got skin in the game, the schools got skin in the game, but that it's not high stakes testing. And then from there, the localities could create performance-based assessments that are based off of what the state's doing. They know the skills that they need to teach. They know the standards they're going to be held account to. They can replicate the state test in the other classes. They can choose to do something different, but they know that when they come to the state performance-based assessment, they're going to be expected to read, write, be able to analyze, be able to work with prompts. I'll stop there. That's a lot. It's a lot to explain.
Any questions of the Patriot?
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman?
Madam Chair, this is an area where, one, I appreciate the delegate. He's been working thoughtfully on this. You came by my office. I've had this bill sitting on my desk now for a week and really looked at it. I'm going to vote no, and I'm going to give you some reasons why, and so we can understand. One, you have taken this issue on seriously, and the fact that it needs a 5-year delay is wise on your part, but it does speak to the impact, right? My concern is if we end up going to wherever the feds take us, which is what your bill does, if they go to zero, we go to zero. And you have some backfill. And matter of fact, if I could break your bill out and vote for the backfill and having some state impact on performance evaluations, I would vote for that, but not for going to zero if they go to zero. I believe that we moved from No Child Left Behind, which was way over tested. I think we would agree on that.
Oh, yeah.
And now we have gone to a new place, right? So where we have swung the pendulum all the way back. We have very, very minimum federal required testing. And if they end up going to zero, we go to zero. So, Madam Chair, I think you've spent more thoughtful time on this than we've seen in the past. I would hope that before the whole process is done, the last part of your bill, if you will, might find a way to get through to where we're having statewide metrics on performance evaluations so that they aren't a poster board, because I fear that that's exactly where a lot of people in the educrat community really want to go, is there. But I do hope that we keep some form of the minimum standards, and I think that is a metricable test on the basics science, and I'd like to see social studies returned, as you probably know. So a little bit of a non-question, but just an understanding of kind of where I'm going.
Yeah, and I think if I, can I-
Yes,
Yeah,
go right ahead, and then we
if
go
I-
to Senator Peterson.
Yeah, if I may, I think the Senator and I probably agree more than we disagree on a lot of this. I think the reason that you need to have the delay is because you need to get people ready. So what we've got right now, if you go into an average, let's say I'm a social studies teacher, so I'll use social studies. If you go into an average social studies classroom and you're teaching world history 2, you got about 5 kids taking that SOL because they want to use that class for the verified credit. And you got about 25 kids who are going to not do that, so they're going to be doing some kind of performance-based measure, okay? And what we have right now is a world in which it's kind of the Wild West for performance-based assessments. And I don't speak ill of the localities on this. I think they have a resource issue. I think they have an expertise issue. I think they have a time issue. And teachers have that on steroids when it comes to making good performance-based assessments. And so what you're trying to do is 2 things at once. You're trying to get kids ready for the SOL for that verified credit while you're trying to do the performance-based assessment, but you don't really know what that is. And the reason for the delay is to get us in a good place, because what we've seen is if you don't have that delay and you try to put something into place immediately, everybody riots. The teachers riot, parents riot, students riot, because they do poorly, but they don't know why they're doing poorly because they're not ready for it. People haven't been trained. Students haven't gotten the correct skills taught to them. And so I think the 5-year delay is really important on it. I'm sure I left something out that the Senator mentioned, but I think that's the different take on what the Senator was saying.
Senator Peterson and Senator Hashmi.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the delegate. He came to speak with me before, and I sort of philosophically lean more in the Newman direction. I tend to believe that you need standardized testing because that which gets tested or that which gets measured gets improved by definition. But I'm doing this a little bit on trust to vote for this because I do think right now we're in this weird hybrid world, which is unsustainable, and we got to break past it. And, you're there every day. I'm not. So I do think we kind of have to find, and obviously we're coming out of the most disruptive 2 years that we've had in generations in education. So, I think we're on a journey. So anyways, I'll support the bill, but I have a feeling this won't be the last lap around the track.
And if I may, I would just
Yes, go ahead.
I would just add that we're keeping testing, we're keeping assessments with this bill. I would actually argue to you that the U.S. history test with this performance-based assessment will be much more rigorous than what we have now. What we have right now is a 40-question multiple choice test. It's scored on a scale of 600. You get a 400, you pass. That's a 67%. But not really, because a 400 is actually a 51%. And it's not a very rigorous thing. This is going to say, if you take this U.S. history test, you have to read, you have to write, you have to analyze cartoons or, whatever, primary source, Lincoln's second inaugural or something. And so I would actually argue to you that this will be a more rigorous assessment, where when we're comparing apples to apples from, all the different parts, we'll not just be seeing can they answer the 40 multiple choice questions, we'll be seeing can these kids read and write when it comes to history.
Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank the delegate for bringing this bill, and I think you're absolutely correct. We have to take a look at how we do assessments and do it much better. And I just wanted to point out in the bill, the assessments that you are hoping to include now are open-ended questions, long-form writing, other tasks. Would you agree with the statement that these actually increase our students' critical thinking skills, demand that they write critically and effectively to the questions that are being assessed? And would you agree also that these are actually better methods to prepare our students for higher education than the SOLs that we are providing?
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the committee, the simple answer to that is yes. I think you're going to get a lot more long-form reading out of this. You're going to get a lot more long-form writing. You're going to get a lot more document-based questions. You're going to get a lot more use of primary sources, whereas right now we're in a world where to get that verified credit, you're having to churn multiple choice questions over and over. So yes.
Thank you. Motion, please. It's been moved and second, the bill, Senator Newman,
If you don't
sorry.
mind, there's a motion. And again, Delegate, I appreciate you, because what we've had here is a serious discussion about a very serious issue. Yeah, I think if we get this wrong, 10 years from now, we're going to be blamed, right? So I know you're trying to get it right. And here again, you've heard me say on the floor many times, this is the only time that the Washington Post and I agree. Because what they've said, they've been very clear about this, is that if we're not careful, we're going to have a generation of students that will not have the basics of math, history, science, and English. And here again, I appreciate where you're coming from. I think that what we should do is we should keep the minimum standards, especially in math. I mean, in math, there's not I know you don't want to do a poster, but there's no poster, right? It's either 2 + 2 is 4 or it's not, right? It's a very clear metricable test, right? Did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would just note two things, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
One is it's not dealing with math and English. Now, if the feds did go and change math and English, right, under if they revised ESSA, yeah, that would probably be in play. I don't foresee that happening, but if they did, but the second thing is, go ahead.
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman.
I don't want to have an ongoing debate, but what your bill says is we'll go to the minimum standards.
yeah.
And so if they get rid of math and science, why say it if we don't want to do it, right? I mean, that's where you and I could probably get to a bill where I would think would be better for all of us, and that is we take out some of those core subjects, and then we fix the performance-based assessment where they mean something. Because I'm concerned that in Lynchburg, I'm not worried about the governor's school. I'm not worried about EC Glass. I'm worried about Bass Elementary School. That's where this is going to hit, and that's where I'm concerned that the jobs are going to be lost because of the knowledge be lost. But listen, I know this bill's probably going to pass out of here, and the debate will continue. But I hope as we continue it, we will at some point talk about keeping the minimum standards, but then going in, as you have suggested, to those performance assessments and have a state component. Because I'm concerned if Lynchburg tests, grades all those, they're great, right? But magically, they're going to get better. And they're going to pass, right? And and at one point in the bill, you talk about there's going to be a state grading, which is probably the best part about your bill, but the rest of the time, they're not. So, Madam Chair, this is, I think, one of those really, really, really important bills. I appreciate the conversation, and that once again is why I'm going to vote no.
I don't see any other members of the committee in queue, so I would like to entertain a motion at this point. It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported. Please designate your preference on the electronic voting
It's
board.
got to go to finance as well.
And be referred to Senate Finance, yes. Clerk, close roll.
Ayes 9, noes 4, abstentions 2.
Ayes 9, noes 4, abstentions 2. The bill is reported and will be referred to Senate Finance. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you very much, Delegate Van Valkenburg. Next in the section of the bills that passed unanimously in the House is House Bill 896, and that is patron Delegate Adams.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good
Members of
morning
the
to you.
committee.
Thank you.
Delegate, HB 896 removes the mandatory malpractice requirement from the mandatory malpractice from the licensure requirement. This is unique to only nurse practitioners. It was added in 2018 and is basically a discriminatory sort of requirement, and everybody has malpractice insurance. It would be foolish in a litigious society that we have not to have it. But when you're a young parent and you take time off or you retire, you have to maintain the insurance premiums in order to maintain your license. And so this can be a workforce issue. Certainly during the pandemic, we recalled a lot of people who are in retirement to come in and help us out. This just removes that malpractice insurance as an attachment to licensure. Everybody's still getting malpractice insurance.
Any questions of the patron? Senator Peterson.
I remember, and it seems like a lifetime ago, but believe it or not, it was actually last year, Senator Donovan had a bill, and I think I was a co-patron that accelerated getting vaccines out into the community. And I think one of the things we did was we waived a lot of these requirements, and I'm sure that had a sunset clause, but do I recollect that correctly? Was that part of this?
I think that
was
is
a portion
vague,
of that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I like this idea.
Then,
Okay.
I'm waiting for a motion.
I will make a motion. I'll move to report.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor of reporting the bill, and let's see, I don't think this one has to go to finance. Nope. Okay.
I don't know where Linwood is, so I'm not gonna vote no.
Delegate Adams, the bill will be reported.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ayes
Members of the
13,
committee.
noes 1, the bill will be reported. Next bill. Now, you know, I'm trying to follow the committee docket, but I see that there were signups on the board, and so the next person is actually Delegate Tran. So if she's not here, we will take those persons who are present. So then going back to the docket, the next person is going to be Delegate Guzman.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam President, members of the committee. Let's start with House Bill 1004. It comes from the House, as you mentioned, uncontested without physical impact. I'm carrying this legislation at the request of the State Council for Higher Education, which is seeking to remove the selective service requirement to apply for the 2-year college transfer grant and the Virginia Tuition Assistance Grant Program. This legislation seeks to bring into conformity with the federal government requirements for the student assistance programs by following the regulation they advance. I don't want any members of this committee to think that the intent of this bill is to discourage people from serving our nation. We're just trying to simplify the state aid process and bring it to parity to Virginia and federal law, Madam Chair.
You can continue.
That's
the bill.
That's the bill.
Any questions of the patriot? No, it came out of the House, 99 is, oh, you mean, it was unanimous, with the exception of one. I think it was.
They changed the word on every bill.
What are we waiting on?
This has nothing to do with your bill, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved to report this bill, but I have a question.
Sure.
Senator Peterson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Selective service, is that men only, or is it both genders at this point? Because back in my day, it was men only.
I believe in my time it was male only, but state higher education is here and they can answer that question more
Okay.
accurately.
Come forward, please.
May change.
Madam Chair, Senator Peterson, it is currently from males only.
Men only.
Still the
So-
same, like our times.
All right, so, I mean, it could be discriminatory to just use one gender. Okay, anyways, I've moved to report the bill.
Thank you.
If you move to second that the bill be reported, all in favor of that motion, please say aye. Please vote electronically. And the Senate Finance did not ask for that bill, so close the roll.
That's the way the board should vote.
Ayes 9, noes 4.
Ayes 9, noes 4, the bill is reported. Delegate Guzman, you have another bill, and that's Senate Bill 1023.
Yes, Madam President, Madam Chair, this again comes from the uncontested calendar without physical impact. It's, according to the report by the Human Trafficking Institute, Virginia is ranked number 4 in active federal human trafficking cases involving children. So my bill directs the Department of Education to develop a K-12 curriculum for family life education on the prevention of human trafficking of children. The intent of this bill is to develop more accessible curriculum to be adopted at the local level for age-appropriate education and prevention of human trafficking of children. We have some successes to share, I believe, where this was implemented in other states. This could actually have helped, to when it was a 90-minute lesson on human trafficking to middle and high school students. Afterwards, students are invited to privately identify themselves or friends of possible human trafficking victims. So from 939 students came forward for this class, for this lesson, and 253 of whom were identified as having been sexually assaulted, groomed, or victims of trafficking. And 41 of the students who requested meetings simply wanted more information, and encouraging fact prevention is one of the goals of the
Okay.
program.
I think we have pretty much the essence of the bill.
Yes.
So if does anyone from the committee wish to speak?
I'd
Ask
like to
any
make a
questions?
motion if you'd like. I
Please.
move that we report the bill.
It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported. All in favor of reporting? House Bill 1023, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero, the bill is reported. You have one more bill, and that is 1098. Delegate Guzman.
Yes, Madam Chair, and I just want to disclose that as we work on this bill during the last day of session, the physical impact statement wasn't available, so it came to you without the budget appropriation. It will cost $75,000 to do the right thing, and the federal government will match the $75,000. However, I have a substitute if that's not what I would explain what this does. It's
Okay,
about.
we need to have the substitute before.
Sure.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The bill is now before us as a substitute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the substitute will require the Joint Commission on Healthcare to study and provide recommendations related to the payment of medical assistance for obesity prevention and other obesity-related services, including the types of obesity prevention and other obesity-related services for which federal matching funds are available right now.
I think the bill is in good shape. I'm seeing some nods here.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just have one question for our Chair of Senate Rules. Just not so much about this bill, but every other, because the substitute just changed it substantially and made it a study bill. And usually our policy is to send everything to rules so that you can make sure that JCHC and the others are, budgeted accordingly.
So are you suggesting that we
I'm asking her if she'd like me to make a motion to report and re-refer to rules.
It's just a study.
Yes, you need to make that motion.
All right, Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we report Senate Bill 1098 and re-refer to the Senate Committee on Rules.
You heard the motion? And second, all in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero, the bill will be reported and re-referred to the Committee on Rules.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, members
You're
of the
welcome.
committee.
I see we have just a few more bills left, but I'm going to take this out of order and take Delegate Reed. You have House Bill 1138.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, the one that I tried to bump forward into the queue earlier. So House Bill 1138, unlike Delegate von Valkensburg, does one thing. And that one thing is that the legislation that we passed in 2021 that would allow the Loudoun County School Board to have staggered school board terms said that the drawing for the lots for who was going to have a 2-year term versus a 4-year term was going to occur right before the petitions were to be filed. Right. And the Loudoun Board of Elections has said we would like that to be changed to their first meeting in January or no later than the 31st of January, and that is what this bill does.
Makes sense to me, but we're going to operate on the motion. Is Senator Newman?
I'm sorry for the late question, but nothing in this delays or extends anyone's terms in any way, shape, or form.
Madam Chair, that's correct. This would not take effect until 2023, when everyone would currently be up for re-election. And at that particular point in time, what would happen is there would be lots drawn that said that some of the terms would be for 2 years initially, and then other terms would be 4. And this was initiated originally in 2021 because the school board had 7 of the 9 members, new members elected, and they were concerned about a loss of institutional knowledge going forward.
Madam Chair, just to make
Senator
sure,
Newman.
no one's up in 2022 that would be extended to 2023. Is that correct?
They are up in 2023.
Madam Chair, just to
Senator
clarify, no one's up in 2022 that would be now extended to 2023.
Not that I'm aware of. Because the election cycle is 2019 to 2023.
Thank you. Can we get a motion on the bill? It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported. All in favor of reporting House Bill 1138, please designate your preference on the electronic voting board. Clerk will close the roll.
Thank you, Madam
Ayes
Chair.
13, no, 0, abstentions 2.
Yes.
Ayes 13, no 0, abstentions 2. The bill is reported. Now we have only Delegate Trans bills, and these bills reported pretty heavily out of the House. Oh, here she is.
Thank you. Sorry, Madam Chair, I was in committee. I have two bills before you. Which
Yes,
would
you
you like
do.
to speak about first?
Yes, go right ahead.
I have, would you like to start with 1043?
That'll be fine, yes.
All right. House Bill 1043 requests the Department of Education to pull together a stakeholder work group to make recommendations on requirements for background checks and child abuse training for the employees and volunteers of various youth leagues, youth sports leagues in Virginia. It varies across. We don't have a set policy. This doesn't presuppose that we need a set policy for those who might be concerned, but it helps us get our arms around what the issue is. So for example, Little League of America requires background checks, but it doesn't require any training on child abuse. And then I have a constituent who runs the Little League in my district who is also a coach for tackle football, and there he is required to take child abuse training as a coach. So that's just two examples. The YMCA of Richmond also shared their requirements as well. They have a little bit stricter requirements for their employees around background checks and training. So it's just it's very uneven, and this helps us suss out how to make it more even across to protect our kids.
Any questions of the patron?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Senator Zerline.
Thank you. Delegate Tran was so good to visit on all her bills, and I appreciate it. And something that I should have asked then was these requirements, because it's basically a work group, would the requirements be, what's envisioned, the work group will produce requirements that the state will impose on every association, or what they might want to require themselves, basically as guidance?
Thank you, Senator. Madam Chair, I would answer that question by noting that these would be recommendations for the General Assembly to take into consideration for any additional legislative changes in the future, so that the recommendations come out are not implemented immediately.
Senator Zerline, does that complete your question?
Thank you. I think I'm less optimistic about the bill now, and I apologize based on our conversation yesterday. But I think I voted for the other two already.
Senator Peterson?
Yeah, I just, and Delegate Tran has talked to me, and I appreciate this as a study, okay? And I think someone says, oh, you should never vote against a study. Here's two concerns I have. One is we've had a number of bills trying to regulate either VHSL or youth sports, whether it's Tebow bill, which is coming over, whether it's transgender, and I voted against every single one of them, just because I said we should not be getting into sports. And I'm going to be consistent. The second thing is, and this is something Delegate Tran, and I know she sponsors a Little League team, and I love that. I coach football, I've coached soccer, I've coached them all. We've had declining youth participation in sports for a generation. We have childhood obesity on the rise. These types of organizations are declining, and they may be defunct in a generation, and one of the reasons is because we regulate them out of existence. And I took, for example, for coach football, an all-day seminar on tackling, blocking, concussions, all additional training, background check. You do all of it. And it's very hard to find volunteers that will do that, and we are going to regulate these youth sports out of existence if we keep going down this track. So, again, I respect what you're doing. I don't think childhood, sexual abuse increases when kids play athletics. I think it actually decreases. When children are left at home left alone in a household, they're more likely to get abused than when they make these connections. So, regretfully, I can't support the bill.
Madam Chair,
Senator Tran. Sorry. Were you running somewhere? Sorry about that. Delegate Tran.
Madam Chair, I believe they might still be here. I do have two witnesses who would like to speak about their experience briefly if you are taking public testimony.
2 minutes. We'll take 2-minute testimony.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the subcommittee. My name is Fatima M. Smith, And I want to start off by saying that I'm a huge sports fan and I identify as an athlete. I recognize that many great things come from participating in sports, and myself and many other sports are a source of trauma. One child being sexually assaulted by a coach is one too many. And just to testify to the amount of people being assaulted, you're actually more likely, 70 to 80% of sexual assault is occurring by somebody that you know, so it's not likely that you'd be assaulted if you stayed at home. Abby and I were sexually assaulted as children by our coaches and realized as adults that not much has been changed in improving sexual assault prevention and response in youth sports. This is evident in the mishandling of sexual assault at Richmond Christian School. Just yesterday, the headmaster of Richmond Christian School was fined $500 and given a 10-day suspension jail's term after being found guilty of failing to report alleged sexual abuse of an underage student by the school's former volleyball coach. As a mother
You
of
want
a
to wrap yours
three-year-old...
up so you can save the other speakers some time because you're down to your 54 seconds.
Good morning, Madam Chairman and members of the subcommittee. My name is Abby Phillips. I've been a court-appointed special advocate for 14 years for abused and neglected children. I'm an all-star athlete taking home championships in both karate and softball. But I'm here today also as a sexual assault survivor and as a mother of a young child. It took me a lot to be here today to share my abuse story. When you have been assaulted or abused, sharing your abuse story forces you back through that trauma, and it's very difficult to share. But what I'm asking for you to please consider today is that many of us have a hard time disclosing, partly because an abuser who's abused us is someone that we trusted and we didn't know who to tell. And that's part of why these important measures need to be put in place.
Okay, thank you. And I see that
Thank
there's
you.
one other person, so if you could just come forward and state your name and your position on the bill.
Sure, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Elizabeth Parker on behalf of the Virginia Alliance of YMCAs. We thank Delegate Tran for the bill. We strongly support it as we operate youth sports league across the Commonwealth.
Thank you. Delegate Tran, you want to?
Madam Chair.
Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to briefly thank Delegate Tran for bringing the bill and to our two individuals who provided public testimony. I think this is such a critical issue. We saw with the case of Dr. Larry Nasser with the Olympic gymnastics issues that if left unchecked, this kind of sexual assault can continue for years. It can impact so many young folks, and it is trauma that lingers into a lifetime. I think it's absolutely critical that we address the issue and that we identify ways to address the concerns and be able to make sure that our children are safe. Thank you, Delegate Tran, for bringing the bill.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported, and that is House Bill 1043. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. Nays have the same right. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 9, noes 5.
Ayes 9, noes 5. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee.
Okay,
Before you now is House Bill 1246.
Correct.
Ready? So House Bill 1246 started off a little bit differently, but I think we now have some peace in the valley by taking an initial baby step to convene a work group that the Department of Education will convene a work group of stakeholders to look at how local school boards can be required to purchase accessible digital tools. So digital tools could be like a platform where you're accessing your grades or your homework assignments. It could be a digital app that teachers use to help as part of their curriculum and teaching. And we know they're ubiquitous in the classroom today. When those tools are not accessible, students with disabilities are not able to fully engage in the work. So for example, this could affect students who are blind or have low vision, as one of my constituents, who are deaf or hard of hearing. Maybe it's a student with dyslexia who needs a certain type of accessible technology. And so we are looking at how we could use the procurement process for purchasing digital tools at the local level to make the technology more accessible.
Any questions of the patron? Anyone in the audience like to speak in favor of the bill?
If you're in the Zoom room and would like to speak in favor of this bill, please raise your hand electronically now. There is one, a few, Madam Chair.
Please let them in.
Donna Ganellan, please unmute and begin your testimony now.
Hi, my name is Donna. I'm a parent and a volunteer advocate for other parents. I apologize for my Zoom picture. This is a little last minute, but this bill, while just a fraction of what is needed, is probably the most important thing as a baby step, as a Delegate Tran said, is a baby step to the most important thing that students with disabilities, not to mention parents and teachers with disabilities, really need. When the ADA was passed back in 1990, computer use really was not a thing. And so therefore, when schools go to build brick and mortar buildings, they have specific specs that they can look to build ramps to allow students with disabilities in wheelchairs into the building. However, now those brick and mortar ramps are not enough. We really need the technology to be designed according to web content accessibility guidelines. These are things that already exist and are rolled into Section 508. But are not applicable right now to the education sector. This effectively prevents our students with disabilities from participating and equally benefiting from their education. If a student needs magnification, for example, the app has to be built according to these web specs, and then it's no big deal to just zoom in. But if they're not built according to the web specs, you can try to zoom in and nothing happens, or the information that you need scrolls off the screen, or some things zoom in and others don't. The same thing is true for students with...
Ma'am, we have 4 other people in queue and there's only about less than a minute left. So could you please wrap up so we can... I'm going to ask the other people who are on the Zoom to let us know what their preference is on the bill. Thank you, ma'am, for your testimony.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Bonnie
Hi there, this
O'Day.
is Dr. Kimberly Avila, and I represent my own children who are legally blind up here in Fairfax County, and also a number of other parents in Virginia who have students who have dyslexia, reading disabilities, visual perceptual, and other considerations that can benefit from this. But it will also help the school, so our schools don't have to retrofit accessibility into platforms that were not constructed to be equitable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Can you hold the clock, Senator Peterson?
is Dr. Avila still there?
I am Senator Peterson.
All
Yes,
right.
thank
I
you.
was just going to say, this is Chap. I got your email. I'm going to respond to you. Thanks.
I greatly appreciate it. Thank you
got
so
it.
much.
Thanks.
Okay, take care.
Okay, we have 2 more people.
Bonnie O'Day, please unmute and begin your testimony now.
Could you please just let us know what your preference is on the bill?
Bonnie O'Day, please unmute and go ahead and speak.
Bonnie O'Day seems to be having some technical issues, so Dr. Michael Assett, please unmute and begin your testimony now.
Good morning, members of the committee. Mike Asip. I support the bill, the Virginia Council of Administrators of Special Ed, and appreciate Delegate Tran's involvement of us in developing this bill as a study. Thank you.
Thank you so much. One more speaker?
No,
Is
Madam
that
Chair,
it?
that was it.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported
It's got to go to finance, ma'am.
and that it be re-referred to Senate Finance. All in favor of reporting and re-referring House Bill 1246 to Finance, please designate electronically. Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported and will be re-referred to Senate Finance. Thank you, Delegate
Thank
Tran.
you, Madam Chair and members of the committee.
Unless I've missed something, that completes the calendar. And if all hearts and minds are clear, the committee shall rise.